I didn't choose wellness because I wanted to be my own boss. I chose it because I love sharing knowledge, because helping someone feel better in their body genuinely lit me up and still does. And I became an independent contractor because I never wanted to rely on corporations that could lay me off without warning. That choice gave me something I hadn't expected: freedom. But then that freedom quietly disappeared. And it took me 25 years to understand why. Someone actually tried to warn me, and I didn't listen. Stay with me here, because the hard truth I eventually landed on, it's actually good news. In this video, I'm going to take you through the full journey. From the moment I fell in love with this work, to the moment someone tried to warn me, to the one thing that finally made it all make sense. And I think somewhere in that journey, you're going to recognize yourself. Let's start at the beginning. I only wanted to do work I found genuinely interesting, work that lit me up, work where I could share what I knew and watch it actually help someone. What I loved was the freedom that came with it. I set my own schedule. I didn't take work home with me. When my day was done, it was done. I remember going for a morning walk whenever I felt like it. And when I needed to go to the dentist, I just went. No approval needed, no awkward conversation with a manager, no making up time at the end of the day. That freedom felt like everything. And every time I got a new client, there was this genuine excitement. Someone chose me. Someone trusted me with their body and their health. And when a client renewed their contract for the first time, that feeling was so validating. It was everything. I was just focused on growing something of my own, and it felt like exactly the right path. But then something started to shift so gradually, I almost didn't notice. Here's the thing about building a wellness practice. The shift doesn't happen all at once. It happens gradually, so gradually that most of us don't notice it until we're deep inside of it. I started coming in an hour earlier to see clients, not because someone told me to, but because I wanted to make that extra hour of income. Staying later than I was ready for, not because, again, I had to, but because more hours meant a bigger paycheck. And for a while, that felt like winning. I was making more than I ever would have in my corporate job, and I was my own boss. I was building something real. But then, the freedom that drew me in started to quietly shrink. I remember sitting in traffic for an hour to teach one class, 1 hour of work, and I told myself it was fine, because at least I wasn't trapped in a job I hated. At least I could still go for that morning walk, and nobody was approving my schedule. But here's what I didn't see at the time was more sessions, more clients, more hours, more income was slowly becoming its own kind of trap. Therefore, when my friend tried to warn me, I wasn't ready to hear it. She was a massage therapist I deeply respected. She had been practicing for over 10 years, fully booked, highly skilled, and completely dedicated. She told me she didn't think I should teach full-time, not because she didn't believe in me, but because of what she had experienced herself. After 10 years of doing this full-time, she said, I feel burnt out and I feel stuck and I don't know how to get out. But then I told myself, that won't be me. I didn't listen. So the slow creep continued. I started finding myself taking 10-minute power naps in my car between clients. Everyone feels this way. Until one day, something happened that I wasn't expecting at all, and it changed everything. In March of 2020, the world stopped, as you know, and so did my schedule. When COVID hit and the studios closed, I remember waiting to feel that panic I expected, the worry about income, the anxiety about my clients, the stress of not knowing when things would reopen. And those feelings did come, but then the very first thing I felt was relief. The world was in crisis, and my first feeling was relief. Relief that I didn't have to be somewhere. Relief that nobody needed me to show up and be the energetic one. Relief that I could just be. And in that stillness, for the first time in years, I started to remember who I was outside of my career. I pursued interests I had quietly set aside. I nested without guilt. I started to feel like myself again. When the world started opening back up, I couldn't go back to the way things were. Not because I didn't love the work, because that stillness had shown me something I couldn't unsee. A career you love shouldn't require you to disappear inside of it. And here it is, the one hard truth that 25 years in wellness taught me. The model most of us were handed was never designed to be sustainable long-term. More sessions, more clients, more hours. It has a ceiling. But then when you hit it, it's not a sign you failed. It's a sign that you've outgrown a structure that was too small for everything you built. So if the model is the problem, you're not the problem. The freedom that drew you into this profession in the first place, it's still available to you. It just looks different than you might expect. Because after all these years, your real value isn't your hours. It's your wisdom, your ability to recognize certain patterns, your ability to understand the human body and the people inside of them in a way that took decades to develop. And that wisdom has value far beyond the sessions on your schedule. I want to ask you something, and I genuinely would love for you to share in the comments below. Do you remember the moment the freedom of your wellness career started to feel smaller than it did at the beginning? Was it a specific day, a specific season? Drop it below, because I think more of us have had that moment than we realize. And there's something really powerful about saying it out loud. I started this career because I loved sharing knowledge, because I wanted to help people feel better, because I wanted to rely on myself, not a corporation. And 25 years later, I still want all of those things. I just understand that the path to them looks different than the one I was handed at the beginning. If you're somewhere in that journey right now, whether you're in the excitement of the early years or the quiet exhaustion of the middle ones, or that moment of clarity where something finally shifts, you're not alone. And this conversation is just getting started. Now that you know the one hard truth 25 years in wellness taught me, you might be wondering what every wellness professional needs to hear, but nobody is saying. Watch this video next. Because when you pair it with what you just learned, what's in this one, it's going to hit even deeper. See you next time.